Hey guys, YouTube's been real awesome about the community guidelines, so if you are over the age of 18, you're cool. But if you're not, please don't watch this. In today's video, I'm taking the sick and the ugly and turning them into the cured and healthy. Plants which are vibrant, full of life, and ready to pack on serious resinous flowers. I'm doing this using the easiest organic methods that I know, and if you're interested, I'll show you everything I do to go from shit to fit with these plants.
Three, two, one, talk to me.
Welcome to the beginning of two special cultivars. It's the seedling stages for a violet fuel and a Forumz Girl Scout cookie cross, and they are being grown organically inside these small starter cups. The light source used for these seedlings is from the Spider Farmer SF2000, which is on a vegetative schedule of 18 hours on and 6 hours off. The seeds have broken through the living soil surface, and the first set of leaves called cotyledons have opened up.
3, 2, 1, talk to me.
These set of starter leaves will provide the youngsters with the energy they need to grow. During this stage, the seedlings are incredibly delicate and need just the right conditions to thrive. Adequate light, the right temperature, and proper moisture. As they grow, they start producing true leaves, which will take over the role of photosynthesis from the cotyledons. Inside each starting cup is a simple, organic, slow-release recipe that will allow each seed to germinate and grow big and strong for weeks to come. This soil is more than just dirt. It's a complex ecosystem teeming with life, playing a crucial role supporting plant growth. The materials that I'm using to create this nutrient-rich environment that supports robust plants is from Gaia Green Organics. The medium I'm using is their Living Soil Blend. This potting mix is pre-charged with slow-release organic fertilizers and has the optimal soil retention for root growth. I often have 100% germination success rate planting in this soil. But the 1-2 punch includes unprocessed manure of earthworms, otherwise known as worm castings. Now this shit is loaded with beneficial microorganisms to enhance nutrient availability and improve the soil quality. This increases the organic matter in my soil and improves the soil's uptake of nutrients and water. It's really an all-purpose fertilizer, and I use it from start to finish in all my grows, whether it's germination, vegging, or flowering. My veg recipe does include the 444 all-purpose. This is what I will use for the entirety of veg. This formulation combines nutrient release rates for feeding plants for weeks to come. So some weeks the plant upkeep is truly just water them when they are dry to the touch because the plants will feed themselves. The last ingredient I am trying is a new product to me. It's high quality charcoal. This one is Black Pearl from GrowTech. This is going to help build the soil up. Ingredients like biochar, volcanic rock dust, humates, and kelp, ingredients of which give the soil a boost and help condition the soil for better plant performance, and increases the biodiversity and biological activity in the soil. Thousands of years ago, activated charcoal was discovered to improve crop productivity by enhancing the soil quality. The common theme is soil quality. Shortly after everything is germinated, gnat flies started to show up. They're not always a nuisance. They seem to show up in a seasonal fashion. Some months are more prominent than others, while others, there's not one in sight from start to finish. And that is with keeping the growing conditions consistent from run to run. I'm implementing some basic tasks, which will directly help in controlling these somewhat harmless gnats. Adding the yellow sticky traps will catch the adult flies and help reduce the repopulation count. I'll increase the airflow over the topsoil because they suck at flying in high winds. Lastly, I'll need to pay closer attention to my watering schedule and make sure the dryback happens. All these things should help control the minor issue. A quick time lapse here will show that from seed, it's been an entire 30 days. I have let these plants go a little too long in these very small starting cups. They are overgrown, depleted for food, and well, just not looking that great. What they need is a fresh transplant into bigger pots with rich living soil, ready for welcoming roots. What they need is a little more attention. To continue with the vegging of each plant, I am mixing up more of the veg recipe you just saw. I'm using living soil mixed in with roughly 10% organic worm castings to the soil being used. I am salad tossing in 444 all-purpose fertilizer at 3 tablespoons per 1 gallon of medium used, and a little added biochar as the cherry on top sort of thing. Not necessarily required to have the same results, just kinda helping create a richer, better soil for water and nutrient uptake. And a little sprinkle poo of mycorrhizae. This will help the root system draw nutrients from the rich soil I'm mixing up. Each plant received a 1 gallon plastic pot as their new home. It doesn't take long before all the plants are fully back to a luscious, vibrant, healthy green. Hardened stems returning back to soft and malleable ones. But once again, I let them become overgrown, hungry plants. And a transplant is overdue again. I'm turning everything on, from lights to ventilation inside the 5x5 and 3x3 grow tent, and getting them ready for some action. A few more AC Infinity oscillating fans have arrived to install. These fans have 10 speed settings, which on 10 can absolutely pump air through the garden's canopy, and is one of the few oscillating fan brands that seem to continuously oscillate without breaking down in a short period. Back to mixing up more soil, but this time it's for plants getting ready to enter into the flowering cycle. Starting off with the 1-2 punch, I'm using Gaia Green's living soil as my medium and adding in my worm castings at roughly 10% to the living soil being used. For the beginning of the flowering stage, I like to use a 50-50 ratio of both the 444 all-purpose and the 284 bloom. This is being added at 3 tablespoons per 1 gallon of medium used. And I'm going to sprinkle in more of the biochar soil builder. It's not a necessary must in this recipe, but it is most certainly still going to help the cause of what I'm trying to do here. GrowTech was kind enough to supply some of this along with the Synergy mycorrhizae, so I'm using it. But do not think it's a must to have the same results. That's the thing about organic growing. There's plenty of amendments out there that you can add into this very recipe to make it your own. The staples I would not grow without would be the worm castings, the 444 all-purpose, as well as the 2A4 bloom. That's what you need on top of your soil base to go from start to finish. Okay, I have my rich soil mixed, and it's geared for the beginning weeks of the flowering cycle. I need to transplant everything into 5-gallon fabric pots, but first, each one needs to be defoliated, lollipopped, and well, just cleaned from head to toe. They have grown a considerable size in these 1 or 1.5 gallon plastic pots, which will make it easy to fill out the tents upstairs. The question is, how quickly can these plants recover from being depleted? After all, this is organic growing. Everything happens at a slower pace. After a sprinkle poo of Synergy mycorrhizae directly on the roots, the plant, along with the fresh, rich soil, is planted into 5-gallon fabric pots, which completes the transplant. And now I have more plants to do, so the process needs to be repeated. And for anyone wondering, I do mix up my recipes 1 bag of living soil at a time, mainly because of the bins I utilize to transplant are only so big. Most of the time, it's enough to do a few plants, but this time, I'm not sending 1 garden into flower. It's gonna be 2. This is how it went. After throwing the plants into the grow tents and giving them some water, which is simply from my tap, left in buckets with aeration stones to dechlorinate for 1 day, the water is then pH down between 6 and 7. Anywhere in between there is cool. And sometimes when I water after a transplant, I bottom feed. This way I know the soil is moist from head to toe, making sure those roots will want to keep stretching outward into the fresh, living soil. So far, it's only been 7 days, 1 full week from the day they were transplanted, and to my eyes, I can see signs the roots are beginning to grow outward into the fresh, rich soil full of food. The canopy is slowly greening up. The recovering girls are not quite ready for heavy-duty light intensity. In both tents, they are just dimmed to half power. The goal, though, is to slowly titrate the power up as they get healthier week to week. After a few more waterings and another full week under the vegetative light schedule of 18 hours on and 6 hours off, they are now greener and taller. Because of their health, they are now starting to grow vigorously again. They are now in good shape to begin the flowering stage. I'm going to be changing these light schedules to the typical 12 hours on and 12 hours off routine. And I plan on getting them all trained down using a trellis net today. This is going to require some delicate, gentle hands. I want to avoid breaking any main flower sites during this patient process. As I'm working over this canopy, I like what I see. Each plant is doing very well. I'm anticipating some stretching happening over the next few weeks, so this second trellis net will most certainly come in hand. And not to my surprise, because the plants were pretty tall heading into today, this tent is now full, wall to wall, which is half the trouble to having some bigger yields. Tomorrow is the official day 1 of flower, and I am managing to get off to a strong, solid start.
Wanna be it, wanna
feel it.
It is the very next day. The signals to the plant that it's time to start flowering are underway. Soon enough, I should see more pistils appearing on all the nodes along each stem.
rage, money, power, and
Over these next weeks of flower, the plants will have a nutrient adjustment going on. During the vegetative stage, plants want more nitrogen, but now they will require more phosphorus and potassium to support the bud development. This is why the simple soil recipe these plants are in is a nice 50-50 ratio of the 4-4-4 and 2-A-4 bloom. As they transition, they still want nitrogen, but also they will be requiring more pK of the NPK ratio. It is around the 10th day of flower, canopies are thicker, fuller, and starting to reach for the light, usually a good sign to start increasing the intensity of the LEDs. The environment heading into early flower hasn't been that much different than the late vegetative stage. Usually it's been temps in the higher 70s with humidity somewhere in the 50s. Keep in mind the lights are not being blasted yet, so the temps will rise to the lower 80s once I do. And for humidity control, I am using a dehumidifier. Heading into week 2 of flower, everything has been going smoothly. Water uptake has been strong and they are going through their dryback quickly, which is a strong sign of health and growth. Also, it's a sign that plants are utilizing a lot more amendments in the soil, and I'll need to make sure I preemptively replace them soon with a top dress feed scheme. But I am opening the tent up this very morning to a little surprise. Everything in this tent is supposedly feminized seeds. Sexing plants wasn't something I was expecting to do, so this was a sight for sore eyes. Male pollen sacs dripping off this pheno in the back corner. It sucks to see, but it does happen. The main issue on my mind isn't contamination. That is easy enough. It's early flower, and with some surgical hands, I can remove this plant one branch at a time and safely without spreading its love powder all over the rest of these girls. In fact, the main issue on my mind is the open real estate once it's removed. This will throw off the canopy coverage and unfortunately probably hurt the overall potential this canopy had going for it. Once removed, I need to do my best to spread the 3 plants left in the garden outward. Ultimately, try to minimize the damage done here. Both gardens are heading into week 4 flower. The main chore today will be refeeding them with Gaia Green's slow release fertilizers. I'm gonna be adding in a layer of the 2-A-4 bloom at 1 tablespoon per gallon of medium used. This is a 5-gallon pot, so I am using around 5 heaping tablespoons. And I'm adding in more organic worm castings directly onto the soil at 4 tablespoons per gallon of medium being used. And then it needs to be vigorously worked into the topsoil. This will help incorporate the nutrients into the soil where they can begin to break down and feed the plants. And lastly, I need to water in the amendments thoroughly without overwatering, of course, to help begin the inoculation. For veg and flower, I'm using water pH anywhere between 6 and 7. I aim for 6.5, and whatever it lands on, assuming it's in between 6 and 7, is fine by me. In fact, a slight variance in pH being used will allow all nutrients under the rainbow to be used. The water activates the fertilizer. It starts the inoculation, starting the slow release process and delivering the nutrients to the roots over time. This is the middle of flower feeding, which is also the final feeding the plants will receive. They are now set for steady, sustained feeding over the next few weeks, or in this case, until it's time to chop down and harvest the gardens. It is week 4 of flower, and all the foliage from the prior canopy work has grown back. This is about the perfect time to get back into these gardens or these canopies for some maintenance. I need to do another round of lollipopping and defoliation. These techniques are commonly used to improve plant health, promote higher yields, and just ensure optimal growth. Plain and simple, it's just good plant hygiene. Lollipopping is a dumb word for removing the lower growth, allowing the plant's energy to be freed up to focus on the top section where the strongest buds are formed. As for defoliating, this is the process of removing large fan leaves that are blocking light from reaching bud sites. Keeping in mind that these plants do need leaves to photosynthesize and grow, I always go off field, but I suppose a general rule that won't get too many gardeners into trouble is removing 30%-ish. This will open up the canopy's bud sites to more light intensity while not overshocking the plants and creating any real health issues. It's also why I do 2, sometimes 3 of these canopy maintenance sessions over the course of late veg, early flower, and mid-flower. Now after these maintenance sessions, the plants will need some time to recover. They may even slow down on the water uptake during the next day or 3, so I tend to be extra careful when I water. Because over-watering can be detrimental, and the environment needs to be dialed in from start to finish. It's week 6, and I am opening my grow tent to a lot of color and plenty of resinous buds. It seems a lot of what I'm growing is showing early signs of ripening. The white pistil hairs are beginning to darken and curl inward, and I'm noticing trichomes beginning to turn cloudy, indicating it's going to be an early chop for this crop. The calyxes, which are the small pods that make up the buds, are swelling up, showing they are maturing. Most of the canopy maintenance has all been handled. I can almost just sit back and relax and let these girls do their thing, but I already see some work I can get into in the 5x5. Not every cola has reached the second level trellis, and the weight gain has them timbering over onto other flowers. I'm gonna try and reposition some of these large fallen colas and add ties to them so they stay up out of the way of the other buds. After weeks of careful nurturing, I have made it to the final stretch. This is the last week of flowering. The buds are all swollen up, trichomes are mature, and soon it will be time to chop this crop and harvest. The trichomes on the flowers are changing. In the final weeks, they have went from clear to cloudy, and eventually, some of them are even turning amber. Knowing when to harvest is all about timing, and when it's organic cultivation, the timing is even more emphasized and a little harder to nail. This is because the plants are uptaking food at their own pace. In organic growing, the flush just slowly happens with every watering. Now this crop ripened quick and color changes happened fast. These plants felt finished long before they were because of it. This canopy is successfully flushed. This is going to ensure a much cleaner, smoother smoke by clearing out any nutrient buildup within the buds. The environment is an important factor from start all the way till the very end. In the last week or even two, I dialed down my humidity to 40-45%, and the temps are kept in the mid-70s during lights on. I might even turn the intensity down of the LEDs just slightly to keep the temps from climbing into the mid-80s. Genetics do have a big part in terpenes and resin production outcomes, but so does the environment. It's for the terpenes, the resin, the flavors, and aromas. It's for all those things. Not only is this crop fleshed, it's ripened for the picking. The trike production is what I would estimate to be around 70% milky and cloudy, with a percentage of some now turning amber. This canopy is ready for its dark period before the harvest chores begin. Giving the plant 48 hours roughly of darkness triggers a natural response in the plant, causing it to produce a final burst of trichomes as a defense mechanism. Second, it may enhance terpene production, making buds smell and taste even better. And since terpenes can degrade under the light and heat, keeping the plants in the dark protects these aromatic compounds just before harvest. The humidity levels need to be managed during this dark cycle. A humidity spike can cause too much moisture. I keep my dehumidifier running so the tent stays in the 40% range, along with my ventilation and circulation fans remaining on. The end of the flowering stage is all about patience and attention to detail. By monitoring the plants closely, flushing them properly, and preparing the environment for success is going to ensure the final harvest is close to as good as it could have been. And this way, you can blame genetics if it doesn't work out. Okay, this is how the canopy looked on the last day with the lights on. Beautiful flush colors with lots of resin and strong terpene odors just smelling up this entire house. It's early in the morning. Today, I am chopping this entire 5x5 down. It's the harvest day. I have the dry racks ready for plants to be hanging. I am getting right in and starting by cutting the plants down in branches. Due to the double trellis setup, this is going to be the easier route to completing the task today. Now before hanging them, I like to go through the flowers branch by branch and remove any dead, dying, or large fan leaves. This is not a wet trimming by any means, just a simple cleaning to help ensure optimal conditions during the drying stage.
I was baptized in the fountain of youth. I was scrutinized for telling the truth. There's a scandal going on around here, are reflections. Looking back in the mirror, did I mention I was loosing the tooth? I got to move on, got mountains to move, I got mountains. 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 Mountains to move, a transformation. We'll get a new look, I'm celebrating. Getting them all up, I need a martini. Without the whole move, I gotta move on. Mountains to move, I got mountains. 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 Mountains to move.
Once I am finally finished with all the hard labor, the next step would be the drying stage. all the buds are hanging upside down on my drying racks, and they are now being placed in a dark, well-ventilated space with a controlled humidity level. During the beginning of the dry, I don't mind a humidity in the 50s, but towards day 3 of the dry, I like to keep it near 60% humidity until they are fully finished drying. Depending on the season, I can keep the temps in the mid-60s in my dry room, but typically, I say it hovers between 68 and 71 Fahrenheit on a hot day. I like the drying process to happen slowly, and I want to avoid any hot surges or low humidities because those incidents can cause further loss of terpenes, terpenos, you know what I'm saying. The process usually takes me between 10 and 15 days. I keep a close eye on the room conditions and the rate of how everything is drying by bending the random stems to see if they will snap. Heading into day 7 of the drying stage, the flowers are looking potent. They look great, smell even better, but I noticed the humidity was beginning to climb, a little higher than I'm comfortable with. This was filmed during the summer months. I was dealing with some heat and high humidities outdoors, which means I did not require a humidifier this time. So, the dehumidifier is now on and set to 60% humidity. Once I have numerous branches all snapping when being bent, the buds themselves are about dry enough to go through the final trimming process and begin the curing stage.
All about the green like weed, and I want the blue like cheese. Spend a couple G's on my G's, spend 100 G's on my steeds. Trip my fans like fiends, gotta get them high and fixed. You know how I do this shit,
When it comes to trimming down everything, I now utilize a bull trimmer for most of the crop's nuggets, except for any of the buds that are big. I trim those to perfection with my hands. So it's a combination of both still, but the bull trimmer from Spider Farmer certainly makes this process faster. For anything I plan on trimming with the bull trimmer, I will start by removing all the flowers from the stem and placing them into my trim bins. I have multiple now. Big flex. AC Infinity released a new bin recently called the Trim Tray Kit. Say that 5 times. I've been using that one alongside my harvest bin, which I've had for years now, and during the harvest, drying, and trimming stages, I will utilize all my dry sift screens. So not only I can make some dry sift hash with them, they actually come in handy when doing all this harvest work before the curing starts. As I finish trimming flowers, I will place them inside an airtight jar and store them in a dark, cool place. Assuming I dried them perfect, they should be going into jars at around 60% humidity. Using hygrometers help maintain this environment in the containers. If the meter reads over 64% humidity, that's when I will open the jars for a few minutes each day to release any built-up moisture. This is called burping, and I only do it when I absolutely have to. Same with farting. Curing takes a while. I like to give my buds all a 30-day minimum cure before I say they reap any rewards from the process. But even after that 30-day period has come and gone, they will continue on the curing process, and at day 60, they will be even richer for the taste. Now, despite having some hiccups early on, this overall yield on weight and quality wasn't too bad. I managed to fill out most of the tent, so I was happy with my 1 gram per watt finish. But I had 3 strains in there, of which I was growing for the first time. So needless to say, the end result I was happy with, since I was taking on extra risk growing just 1 pheno of a bunch of stuff I've never grown. But I had a hunch genetics was gonna do all the heavy lifting, and it kinda did. Girl Scout Cookies is one of the most iconic strains of the last couple decades. The Forumz Girl Scout Cookie crossed with Runts came out with a top shelf finish. These top nuggets were all hand trimmed. This pheno is a beautiful combination of everything I would want in a finished flower. Rock solid bud formations that pack condensed weight with a heavy looking resin production and an enjoyable terp profile to boot. Flavor and aromas on this pheno is earthy tones mixed with sweet dessert-like notes. A combination of mint, citrus, and sometimes even like a hint of spice on the exhale. I find it great for unwinding after a long day, getting rid of the day's anxieties and stresses. The Violet Fuel Pheno came with an insanely impressive terp profile, a strong fruit gasoline smell. It tastes like sweet berries and grapes with gassy overtones. Sharp, uplifting buzz, a great strain if I ever need a burst of creative energy. I find this is a go-to for my editing work. Just a nice mix of fruity sweetness with a sharp fuel kick. The last strain was called Goodie Bag, which was another cross with Runts. This finished off nicely with a candy profile on it. Not as resinous as the other 2, but still nothing to complain about. This entire start to finish grow was documented in early 2023. I'm actually sitting on numerous start to finish runs with different strains and equipment gear. I just need to get to editing them. I'll also be uploading some extra content to my Patreon for anyone who is interested. My first upload to my Patreon in a while will be on how the 3x3 AC Infinity tent finished. To anyone and everyone who is still watching up until this point, I appreciate you very much. That alone is plenty of support, but if you want to help me even more, just leave a like on this video and subscribe if you are not already. Don't forget, all the sponsored links with coupon codes are located in this video's description. Black Friday and Christmas are around the corner, so be sure to use the coupon codes at checkout for extra savings on your order when it's time to gear up. Thanks for growing with me, and I'll talk to you in the comments. Today's episode is brought to you by AC Infinity, the leader in high-quality ventilation, climate control systems, and indoor growing solutions for any and all stages of growing. Ready to elevate your growing game? Head over to the official website, acinfinity.com, and use promo code CANUCK at checkout to get a max discount of 15%. Coupon code also works on Amazon. This episode is sponsored by Gaia Green Organics, my go-to source for premium organic fertilizers and soil amendments. Gaia Green's all-natural products deliver the nutrients plants need to thrive. Fertilizers, which are crafted from sustainable, organic ingredients. Improve soil quality, support microbial life, and boost plants' health and yields without the use of harsh chemicals. Feed plants the way nature intended with Gaia Green Organics, trusted by gardeners and professionals alike. And they are coming soon to the United States. Visit GaiaGreen.com for more information and to find your local dealer. Today's video is sponsored by Spider Farmer, our trusted name in LED grow lights and indoor growing equipment. Whether you're just getting started with indoor gardening or maybe you're a seasoned pro, Spider Farmer's full spectrum LED grow lights are designed for maximum efficiency, giving the plants the exact light they need to thrive while saving you on energy costs. And they don't just stop at lights, they offer everything from grow tents and ventilation systems to harvesting tools. Visit spiderfarmer.com today and use code CANUCK05 for a max discount off your orders. Code is STACKABLE with holiday savings, and the coupon code also works on Amazon.
about the green like weed, and I want the blue like cheese. Spend a couple G's on my G's, spend 100 G's on my steeds. Treat my fans like fiends, gotta get them high and fixed. You know how I do this shit. Still in the hood like pumps, itching my palm. Money is a bitch, I'ma make her come. She got me sprung, and I want me some motivation tied in my arm. I'm just glad to be alive another day under the sun. You can die young where I'm from, you can get lost where I'm from. Gotta be a bust where I'm from. Hey, I'm going dumb, I'm going stupid. Music and drugs is the same that I'm using. You wanna make a killing, then execute it. Wanna make a million, no excuses. I'm going dumb, I'm trying to live it and stunt. Get anything that I want, whenever I want. It's okay to be broke, it's not okay to be a bum. Gotta move up, I never front, I keep it 100, hun. Do it for fun, man, I do it for fun. If they went left, I ain't playing fair. Came from the bottom, I ain't staying here. God got me, that's my plan here. Broke, but I drip like the rain here. Smooth like butter, so I love that bread. M.O.B., I leave them on red. Go ahead, then I go get hit. P.I.N.P., I know what I said. I'm going dumb, I'm going stupid. Music and drugs is the same that I'm using. You wanna make a killing, then execute it. Wanna make a million, no excuses. I'm going